Hi everyone, welcome to your Tuesday virtual maths lesson. Today we're going to once again start with our 4 mental maths questions plus our clock face and trying to tell the time of what it's showing there. So in a moment, like normal, pause the video, answer the questions, not forgetting the clock face, and then we'll come back together and we'll go through the answers. Pause the video now. Question number 1. Write 2 18,000ths as a decimal. We've looked at thousandths over the last couple of lessons, so this is something that should be quite familiar to us. If I'm writing 2 wholes, that will be a 2 in my ones column. I'm thinking about my place value headers. I've got 0/10ths. I've got 1/100th, and I've got 8,000ths. 2.018. Question 2. What is the 6 worth in 3.62? We've just talked about our place value headers and our place value columns. The 6 is in the column 1 to the right of the decimal place, which means that the 6 is worth 6/10. You could have written it as a fraction, like so. You might have written 6/10. Either one will have got you the mark. Question 3. Work out 4 subtract 2/7. If I'm thinking about wholes and my denominator here is 7, then each whole of my 4 is broken up into 7 sections. So there'd be 7 if I had 1 whole, there would be 14 if I had 2 wholes, there would be 21 if I had 3 wholes, and I've got 4 wholes, so it's the same as 28/7. That's the same as 4 wholes. It's not the answer, because that is just that written as an improper fraction. If I'm subtracting 2/7, my denominator is the same, so all I've got to do is look at my numerators. I am doing a subtract, remember, so let's circle it so we don't forget. 28 take away 2 would give me 26/7. As a mixed number fraction, how many sevenths can I make? If I've got 26, how many whole can I make? 7, 14, 21. I can make 3 wholes. I've shared out 21. I started with 26, which means I've got 5/7 remaining. Either answer would have got you the mark, unless it's stated it had to be given in a certain way. Question 4. How many boys are there altogether? So we've got another 2x2 table like we had previous lesson, another 2x2 table. This time I'm interested in the total amount altogether, the total amount of boys. If 86 boys were running and 57 boys were swimming, I need to add the total of these two values here. You may have used the column method. You may have tried to add on 50, then added on 7 to 86. That's probably what I would do to try and save me a little bit of time. 86 add 50, so it's 96, 106, 116, 126, 136. 136 add on my 7 would give me a total of 143. As I said, if you've used a column method, that's fine. It wouldn't have made a difference. It just tried to save you a little bit of time if you were in a test, for example. And then finally, the clock face up here, the time that it is showing from what I can see is 10:24. So 10:24 or 24 minutes past 10. There's our mental maths for the morning done. Today, in our maths lesson, we're going to look at, as the Walt tells us there at the top, we're going to look at rounding decimals. Now, rounding is a really key mathematical skill, but it's also a very difficult mathematical skill. The first number I'm going to have a go this morning at rounding is the number 12.3. To illustrate my point, I'm going to use a couple of number lines this morning to help me. 12.3. First thing I'm going to do is place it on my number line. I've got 10 individual jumps. I have got a difference between my two marked labels of 1. So I'm doing that 1 divided by 10 again, like we did the other day. And that tells me that each jump is of 1/10. If I'm trying to put on my place value, not my place value, on my number line, sorry, 12.3, I am jumping along 3, 12.1, 12.2, 12.3. So I'm putting my arrow here to label 12.3 on my number line. Let's move it across. Excellent. Now, straight away, people might be thinking, right, I know this is now closer to 12 because the 3 in the ones column, and when rounding to the nearest whole, that's the column I'm looking at, the 3 in the tenths column even, is less than 5. And you'd be correct to say that. You would round this number down. Why would you round it down? Well, the difference between 12 and 12.3, we've jumped up, haven't we? 3/10. If I was to jump from 12.3 to 13, which is the next whole number, I've got a difference of 0.7. So clearly, illustrated on my number line, I am much closer to 12 than I am to 13. And when rounding, that's what I'm doing. I'm looking for a value that I am close to. Sometimes it's the whole number, sometimes it's the nearest tenth, sometimes it's the nearest hundredth. The value, when rounding to the nearest whole number in the tenths column, is the key number. Am I rounding it down or am I rounding it up? If it's 3, it's less than 5, so I'm always going to be rounding it down to the previous whole number that I've already jumped past. When rounding to the nearest whole number, this is. If I was on my number line, going to round, let's have a think. We'll keep 12. But this time we're going to, on my number line, label where 12.5 would be. 12.5. Let's get rid of this. 12.5, remember it's the same number line, so I'm still doing them up in tenths. So 12.1, 12.2, 12.3, 12.4, 12.5 would be here. Now, because I have jumped 5 on my number line from 12, and now I'd have to jump another 5/10 to get to 13, I'm absolutely bang central halfway between. The rule is if it's 5 or more, you round it up. So 12.5 to the nearest whole number, 12.5 to the nearest whole number would be 13. It's central on my number line, but the rule is to round up. If you have got the digit 5 when rounding to the nearest whole in the tenths column, you would round it up to 13. Let's now take a look at rounding to the nearest tenth. So we've just looked at rounding to the nearest whole number. Look at the number in the tenths column. That will tell you to round up or round down. Now, when I'm looking at rounding to the nearest tenth, I'm going to need a different number line. The number I'm wanting to round this time is going to be 12.68. My number line, again, has got 10 jumps on it. The difference between my two labelled points is 1/10. If I am dividing 1/10 by 10, because that's what I'm doing because I've got 10 jumps on my number line, 1/10 divided by 10, that gives me 1/100th. So I know that each jump on my number line is going to be 1/100th. So 12.60, 12.61, 12.62, 12.63, and so on. If I'm looking for where 12.8 would be, therefore, let's just get rid of this. Hopefully you're pointing on your iPad or on your computer screen to where I would put it. 12.68, I would be looking at putting it here. Come on, yeah, my computer's a bit slow there. So I would be labeling it there. Why am I putting it there? Because I've just said each jump is of 1/100th, and I jumped 8 jumps of 100th to get to 12.68. If I'm rounding it to the nearest whole number, sorry, not to the nearest whole number, to the nearest 10th, I'm wanting to know, am I close to 12.60 or close to 12.70? My number line is clearly telling me that I'm close to 12.70. And that is because the difference, so the jump here that I have just done to get from 12.6 to 12.68 is a jump of 0.08. I've jumped 8 individual hundredths. If I was jumping from here to here, I've got a much smaller jump to do. I'm actually only going to have to jump this time 0.02 hundredths. So you can clearly see illustrated on my number line that 12.68 rounded to the nearest tenth is 12.7. I could also say that 12.68 rounded to 1 decimal place is 12.7. So rounding to 1 decimal place and rounding to the nearest tenth is the same. Always look when rounding to the nearest tenth at the column 1 to the right of the tenth, which in this case has got an 8. Going back to my principle from last time, it's the same thing, just rounding to a different place this time. If it's 5 or more, you would round it up. If it's 4 or less, you would round it back down to where you've already passed. So that's rounding to the nearest whole number and rounding to the nearest tenth. I'm going to leave the video here now. I'm going to stop that and I'm going to set you your work to have a go at doing a little bit of work on number lines, rounding to the nearest whole number and rounding to the nearest tenth. Have a go, let me know how you get on, and we'll see you tomorrow for your next math lesson.